Hi there, welcome to a very simple and basic tutorial about facade signage. I will try to explain you how to use in particular the cues and the sets function in order to create simple shows on your house, on your windows, anywhere you want. So let's start with the simple control panel of facade signage already started, and we will use the demo project that is embedded and present when you install the application. So let's start the demo project. The first thing to notice is that I will start it not in full screen as I would do with a real projection, but I will do it in a window. And since my screen is a full HD, I don't want to cover all the screens because I want to show you also the panel. I will use another option, that is to create a window, a smaller window that is just for testing purposes. So let's create let's choose this option, leave all the other options as they are, and just start play. So the player windows is on your left now. It's like just a window, and then on the right we have our panel. Here we see something going on. So if you go to the sets and surfaces, you already have a first set and a first cue, and I would try to show you and explain you different concepts, very simple concepts but very powerful. So a set, what is a set? A set is just like a project. It's a configuration of surfaces on some objects. Okay, so when you, for example, put surfaces this way, these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 surfaces from S0 to S8. They start from 0. These 9 surfaces are just laid out in a certain way. And they usually do not change because, of course, when you create a project on your house, for example, you have the window positions and the wall position. They are all in the same place and they should not move. Also, your projector should not move. So that's the reason why the set is 1. But we are given the option to create more sets. For example, here I have another set, and I can create also another one. Let's create a third set with the Alt key. And you will notice that another sub-project with no surfaces at all has been created. And this project is not live now, because I'm editing the set number 3, but I'm looking at the set number 1 and the cue number 1. This is important, and also the program will tell you this. This is not a plain cue, and of course not the plain set. If I want to go to that set, I have to play that set, and if I play that set, you see that the program transitions to a new set that is empty. In this new set I can create other surfaces. With the A key I create surfaces. Let's, for example, create 3 surfaces and make them like a theatrical stage, because I like it. So it's like a little perspective here. So you notice that with the left mouse button I can move my surfaces, and with the right mouse button I go to the vertex editing mode, and I can distort the surfaces. At least this is the simplest distortion model, that is the perspective model. There are other ones that you can find also in the tutorial. So I created another set with 3 surfaces. I'm in edit mode, you see, because I have all my editing cues. And remember that I can go back to the play mode anyway, any time when I play edit, or I hit the escape key. Okay. Of course, now anything is played because there is no media files on the surfaces. They are just empty. Okay, so you have to assign media files. Let's go back to the edit mode and choose the media files. So to choose the media files, I have the option to get the existing media files that we have in the project, and that they are present in the media resources library. Here you will find all the media files, and you see that some can be project files, some other can be like live inputs. Anything can be created from here or directly when assigning on a surface. I can also, of course, add new surfaces, new media resources. for example, clicking here, so I can go to, let's see, my cloud hard drive on the samples and get another picture. Okay, so let's get, for example, the picture of the Abbey. And I'm given also always the option to keep it into the original location or import it into the project folder. And it's just up to you. If you want to work without copying your files and duplicating your files on your hard drives, just keep them in their original location. If you plan to move your project, zipping it, creating an archive and putting it on another machine, of course you have to import it in the project. So the image size is big, and it's been how to limit it is just because very big sizes can fill up the memory, so Facade just resize them but without touching the file, and it's completely and immediately applied to the surface. So you see that we have the Abbey here. For the other ones I will just use the media files that I already have. So for example I will use the ocean for the right, and I will use the sun and the cloud. Okay, I hit save because, you know, it's always better to save your work. And we are in set 3 Q1. Okay, I can rename this Q, for example, introduction. What is the purpose of a queue? A queue is assignment of media resources on surfaces. That's just it. Okay, you cannot change them. If you change them, you have to change it live, and of course it's not what you will do in a show. In a show you want, for example, to have some moments in which the music changes or the images change. Some images maybe disappears, some image appears, and so on. So the normal behavior of a queue is to loop forever. Of course an image will loop forever because it's just an image. Instead, video files will just loop again. You see that these media files are not seamless. This is not seamless, so you will notice when it clicks and loops again. Okay, you have in a queue the queue timeline. The queue timeline is a simple way to change this behavior. Okay, so in a queue timeline I see that for S0, that is just an image, I know that the image starts at the beginning of the queue and has no fade. S1, that is a looping video, and I see it because there is also you see the describing here the status of the looping video. The playing position begins at 0, so begins at the beginning of the queue, has no fade, and the action, the standard action is to loop. For example, I can just say, okay, don't loop, just hold the last frame. Okay, so it will loop, and when it reaches the last frame it will stop. Okay, because for example I just want to play once this video, and then I want to go to another queue, as I will show you. So you see that we are arriving at the end, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and here we are, tack. And you see that this video is not looping anymore, while the other that is looping is still looping. Okay, I can also decide that in this queue I want the first thing to enter is the image of the Abbey on the left, but I want it to fade like in 3 seconds, or like, let's make 5 seconds. Then I want after these 5 seconds to wait another 2 seconds, so let's make 7 seconds. And in the 7 seconds we will have the beginning of this that will fade in 3 seconds, and will fade out in 3 seconds. Let's try this configuration. And then I want, like for example, after on the 10th second to fade in the last video, and it will fade also in 3 seconds. You notice that the option to fade out is given only if I don't have the loop, because if I have the loop, the resource goes on forever, okay? So I don't know when to fade out. While if I say that the beginning is 7, the duration is 24, and I want to hold the last frame of this video, of course I have an end and I can decide to fade out. Let's try to start this behavior, okay? To start it, the simplest thing is to rewind the current cue. So you can also play it or rewind it. If I rewind it, everything starts. So you see that we have the first surfaces coming on, and then the other one, and then the third one. So let's see if the image of the sea will fade out when it reaches the end of its loop. Okay, so let's wait a little, and you will see that here now, okay, it will fade out. Why do you see the S1 and the white surfaces? Because we are in edit mode. So if we go to play mode and just play everything again, you will see what you will be able to do on your show. So decide what comes before, what comes after, and what happens in general. This cue timeline is like, for example, the Premiere timeline, but it's very simplified because cues are more for live use, okay? It's simpler to edit in this mode. Of course, it's less powerful in a sense, but if you want to do more complex things, probably the best to do is to create a Midi file outside of FaçadeSignage using OpenShot or Video Premiere or anything else, and then import the video, okay? If you want to do simple things on existing media files, this is for sure the simplest method. And you have created one single cue. But we have the possibility to create an infinite number of cues, and in the set 3 we just have a single cue now. I can add another cue. So what happens? Let's go here. I created another cue, I go to the cue number 2, and I have the same behavior as before. So going to edit another cue does not mean that the cue is playing. In fact, we are always and still in set number 3 and cue number 1. I can design a completely different cue when I want to change the behaviors. For example, in this new cue, I want to have all the images of the clouds everywhere, so all the same video on the 3 surfaces. If I want to see live what I want to do, of course I play this cue and I will have an empty cue. But now I can do the same, so I can put sun and clouds on the first, sun and clouds on the second, sun and cloud on the third. There are some shortcuts. If you don't want to do this for all the different surfaces, you can just click on the right and say this resource I want to propagate to all the surfaces. Okay, so if I want, for example, to choose another one like the ocean, and I want to propagate the resource to all the surfaces, tack, here we are. So it's a simple way to do it. Pay attention that there are also other options like propagating this surface, this media file, sorry, to all the cues. So it will change all the cues. So use it with some attention. Let's go back to what I wanted to do. So create the sun and the clouds and propagate the resource to all the surfaces. Here we are. So we decided that cue number 2 is all about clouds, and I want to name it all clouds, just to remember. So when I go into the list, I see that there is another cue called it like this. The cue timeline can be completely redefined. So you see that now it's just reset. In this particular cue, I want, for example, them to begin at 1, at 2, at 3 seconds, so very quickly coming up, and they all fade 1, and they all loop. Okay, I don't care about their looping. save it. So let's start. Okay, so now I created two queues, but the queues are not linked together. They are just there. So it's up to me to call them. Okay, to call them, I can to play them. I can select them and hit play. So I will play the first one, the introduction that I already show you, and I see the behavior as before. And then anytime, because I can do it anytime, I can go to the second and click, and you will notice that everything will go to the second queue. Okay, so we have the show with the right queue timeline for the second queue. If I am in a live show, for example, I can use other shortcuts. If you go to the player panel here, you will see that you have the quick play panel. The quick play panel is about calling queues and sets very quickly. For example, if you are doing some theatrical stage work and the actor comes in, you want it to choose another queue and create another effect. You call it, you play it when you need it. Okay, so here I will be in the waiting for the actor to do the action, and then click on one. Oh, and you see that there is a fade and there is a play of the queue, or click on two. When I want, I go to another queue. Okay. So this is the basic function about queues. I just use one set, because if I use another set, everything will start together, like creating a new project. So sets are used usually just when you want to create a completely different configuration of surfaces on your house, on anywhere, on all your theater stage. So it is usually a rare case, and everything can be done with queues. Also because, let's think about Halloween project that goes on and on and on all night long, and I want to play it. I don't have recorded everything. I will cover the record on another section of this tutorial. So I want to concatenate the first queue to the second queue. What can I do it? So let's go back to the first queue. The first queue has, now let's play it also, so we see it. The first queue has a length. You see that there is a 39-second length. So why? Why this length? Because the program will try to guess the length of the queue depending on the surfaces, of the media resources you used on the surfaces. And since we used two videos, probably the longest one is the one that lasts 39, or the longest one plus the time when it starts. In fact, when I go to the queue timeline, I see that the first video has a duration of 24 seconds, the second one 29 seconds, but the second one starts at 10, the 10th second, because I want it to start at 10 seconds. Of course, this means that the whole queue will have a length of 29 plus 10, so 39 seconds. This is the duration of my queue. Of course, when it finishes, it just goes on forever with the standard action, so holding or looping or fading. Now it's hold but faded. Okay, so I just see the first and the second surfaces, but not the one that faded away. But it goes on forever. But maybe I want to transition to another queue, and to do this I have the queue transition. It's like a way to link together queues. So for example, in the queue number 1 I can say that when there is the end of the duration, so the duration is the 39 seconds that I defined, I want to go to the next queue. And going to the next queue, I want to fade the queues, because there is also a crossfade between one queue and the other, and you can experiment with that with 2 seconds. Okay, this is the standard behavior. I have other options, like for example, I want to completely restart the media resources, and I will tell you why later. So now, since I already created this rule already applied, and we are in queue number 2. So let's go back to queue number 1 and let's see if it works. So in queue number 1, I'm going to see everything else, again, sorry, and I can scrub it. For example, when I'm editing, I don't have to wait. I just go towards the end. So let's see the last 10 seconds. I will arrive at 39, and then the rule that tells me when it's finished, go to the second queue, kicks in, and I'm there. Okay. So when you see, if you see, we just created a first transition. So let's go to the second queue. The second queue, it's just looping. It has its own rules about time. Here the duration is 29 because I used 3 videos. And okay, let's just transition. For example, I want when it finishes, when there is the duration end, I want to go back to the first queue. So I'm just creating a loop. Now, the 2 queues are linked together. When the first ends, it links to the second. When the second ends, it links to the first. So this will go on forever. You will see that here the cursor is moving. Let's move it some forward, so we are faster in showing the effect, and it reaches the end. It goes to the second queue. Okay. Perfect. And then we will wait. We are in the second queue. If we want to see, this is not a playing queue, so I select it and I go to the second queue, and I see the scrubbing for the second queue, the playing cursor. And when it reaches the end, that is the end of the video, of course, 32, 29 plus 2 plus 3. Tack. We are in the first queue. Okay? So see, this is the basic rule. You can create anything like this. Of course, if I create like a third queue, okay, and in this third queue I just want something to show on the center one, and I want to say, I rename it just logo, Anytime, even if it's looping, I can go to the third queue. Oh, it's not the center, it's the right, okay. And I'm going to the queue number 3. The queue number 3 is looping forever because it's just an image, and I will stay there. When I want, I can go back to any queue, like the second also, will fade, and I will have the possibility to just go anywhere in my project, okay. So this can be used live or can be used to create loops. Okay. Now I want to show some other option, even if these options I will show you are more advanced. For example, if I go here and I have the sun and the clouds looping, you will notice that this is the same video. Okay, it's like playing video that I'm using in queue number 1 and also in queue number 2. The standard behavior is that if the same media resources are used across different queues, consequent queues, they are not reset. So we'll not have like the rewind of that video, because probably you want that video to go on and on even if the queue changes. This is the standard behavior. If you want instead to rewind it because there is another need, then in the queue transition, for example, from 1 to 2, you can ask to restart all the resources. This means that if there are playing videos, they will always restart from the beginning. If you want, for example, not to have a fade between the two, you just put 0 and 0 here. And the third thing I want to tell you is that you can always change the length of the duration of your queue. even if the calculated duration is this one, I can click on this clock, define a custom duration, and decide, for example, that it lasts 1 minute and a half. Okay, so it will go on and on and on, fade, and then for the rest of the time it will just stay in this state, looping. So you can create longer cues because you want this video of the cloud to last more, and then create another transition and go somewhere else. Okay, I hope this helped you. I think that you have everything to create your shows. Always remember that if you have the professional or standard version of FaçadeSignage, you can export everything you did. Okay, you can export it in a media file. You have different options, so you can create MP4 small files with higher compression, or bigger files with higher compression. This will just reproduce your project, the window of your project on the resolution you decided, create an MP4 file, and then that file will be a static file that you can use on any media player. So you can put it on an Android box, another hardware media player, and it will help you create the shows. For example, if you want to leave the projector out of your house. This way you will not risk your PC being stolen or something else. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope that I was clear enough to show you the basic function about cues and sets. If you have any questions, just ask me. You can subscribe or ask me under this feed. I will try to create more videos about FaçadeSignage because there is really big interest, also when there is Halloween or Christmas projections, and I want to help you unleash everything about this program that I created with a lot of love for you. Thank you very much, and take care.